cheerleader. What if I was the girl next door?
The extent that I use it right now, I probably spend a few minutes a week on it. This morning I got on right before school started and posted some pictures of some students who had done an activity in my class, and they wanted the pictures on Facebook. So it took me about 5 minutes to post those, and I was done with it for the day. So.
Are you on there daily? How often do you say you would log in?
I'm probably on there about every other day for personal use, and then a couple times a week for geometry use. I wasn't very concerned because I knew that I could control the privacy settings, and I knew that I could make it to where my kids wouldn't be able to see anything more than my small icon on my profile, so I wasn't concerned about that. But if I accept them as a friend, that would be how they would see my information, because I make my information available to my friends.
Has anybody tried to friend you from your students?
I think maybe 1 or 2 students, but I told them in class that as a rule I wasn't going to friend any of my students, and they understood that, so I just ignored their requests.
Okay.
Right, yeah, just make a blanket statement, say I'm not trying to offend anyone, but I'm just, as a rule, not going to be friends with my students. I'm going to keep that part of my life separate. So. I have found it to be valuable, especially because so many of our kids are on it and are excited about it and are talking about it. So even the smallest bit of exposure that they can get to geometry through Facebook helps. It's better than nothing. So. I would think of it as kind of very supplemental to the instruction. We can, there was one day that we did something in class and I forgot to tell them something or give them a hint on a worksheet, and so I can go home and post that, and most of them will either see it on their news feed or they'll tell their friends about it. So it's a perfect way to, I do one thing, I enter one line of text, and I can reach almost all my students by doing that. I don't have to open an email and send it to 50 different kids or anything like that. So it has been nice for those things, and then also for different websites I can post to it, and they can continue what we did in class at home if they wanted to explore it a little bit further. There's also discussions that you can have. You can post a question and they can reply to that. Like I said, I put a link to our school wires, which we could upload documents to, and hopefully eventually we can also upload documents straight to Facebook instead of having to put them on a different site. It's kind of a competition between the different levels between Algebra and Algebra 2 and Geometry, and so that got them excited anytime you give them a competition. And then also I think I baked cookies or something. I brought them, I gave them some sort of food as an incentive as well that they got excited about. So. Some students get really into it and they'll post things, but some students just go on and look at it, but you don't really know because they might not be the type of student that wants to post something. But when we did offer a bonus on a quiz, everyone was talking about it the next day, and some people were so disappointed they hadn't checked their Facebook the night before, and so on and so forth. It was kind of fun and silly, but definitely buzz about it and definitely response.
So do you feel they have benefited from the page?
I think they have in a small way, and I think even as I learn to use it more, it could have an even larger impact. I did have a former student, so he wasn't in my classes right now, but he was a fan of the page and he posted something inappropriate, so I just removed the post as soon as someone had told me about it, and I blocked him from our page. Well, some of them it's kind of class pride, like they post things like our class is the best or stuff like that, but I did put a few discussions up that I wanted them to respond to, and we had a geometry jokes one going and different stuff like that, so they respond to that. Sometimes all it is though is that they go to the site, they see the links, but they might not necessarily leave any comments there. I've definitely never gotten stressed about the Facebook site, no. And that's also something that if you're on a team of teachers, that you can split up. You can say, I'll do it this week and you can monitor it this next week. Usually sometimes your kids will remind you to get on it. Sometimes I just forget to check on it, and sometimes they'll say, I posted something, or they'll tell you something about it, so that can remind you to get on it real quick. But it's definitely not something that has been a source of stress, and you can put into it as much time as you want. I would like to start it next year, and it'll be nice to see how it goes when we start it from the beginning of the year. We talk about it on day one. It can be one of the sites on our syllabus, and kind of see the possibilities and where we can take it. I would say to definitely try it. Like we talked about earlier, it doesn't take much to set up. You can put as much information or as little information on there as you like. And as long as you talk it up with your students, if you get into it, they're going to get into it as well. Because I thought maybe some of them might think it's lame or not cool to be a fan of geometry on Facebook, but I was really surprised by how they did get into it, and they did, make sure their friends were on it too. And so, I would say at least try it. It can't hurt. And then if it doesn't work out, you can always back away or not use it as strongly as you intended to originally.